All right. We are all queued up. We have another great Money Monday going for everybody. I hope your day is off to a great start. As the usual, we have another great speaker. And on Your Wealth Guidance, I am your host, Rosalind Brown. And what we do each and every week is provide you actionable insights on your financial independence journey. And so many of us are on a fire journey, but more importantly, to be on your financial independence journey, because that gives you the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do. And so we're at a Monday. I spoke to some people earlier and I said, well, goodness, halfway through our Monday, are you feeling like, goodness, maybe I should make that leap and do things on my own? And I had a great conversation with someone earlier and really talked about how much money she had worked tireless hours to make other people rich. And so many of us are doing that. We're working ourselves to the bone in order to really make someone else rich. And we're dedicated to the cause, to the mission, but financially, we may not be seeing the returns. And so we have a great speaker with us today to really talk about making that leap and making that plan as you prep for that. We have Hannah Chapman, who is a wealth advisor that is changing the way that financial services industry sees women. And so I'm sure many of us have had those conversations with advisors and you're like, okay, maybe not. During her 14 years working at a large financial company, Hannah found that the women she worked with were not being served well by the traditional model of financial planning and investment management. They didn't understand what was being said during meetings, didn't feel questions were being answered, and stopped trusting the advice that they were getting. And I know so many of us probably feel the exact same way. Hannah founded X Squared Wealth Planning as a fee-only financial planning firm to bring a collaborative and compassionate voice to the financial services industry, and to bring about a paradigm shift in how women view themselves and their ability to build wealth. And so making that leap is just one of the many ways for us to make that transition, for us to take control of our own life, our own power, especially as people are talking about going back to the office and some people are like, nope, not me. So without further ado, I want to hand the mic over to Hannah. I want to say thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to hearing your insights.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here and to talking to your audience about literally exactly what you just said, as far as, really being committed to the mission and having such a heart for what I do and not seeing the financial returns from it. So that is literally why I started looking to create my own firm and to make a change. And it's a big change. So if any of you are looking and saying, this seems, I'm feeling really pulled to do something. And I know from the options that I see around me that I'm just not going to fit quite into anyone else's mold and I need to do my own thing. It can feel really, really scary. But the more, the more that pull really pulls on your heart and the stronger it gets, there's no other way sometimes to get that message out that you feel is important to the world. So for me, that really was just like, Rosalind said in my intro, that was making a change, like making an absolute fundamental change in the way that women are served in financial services and the way that women see themselves and their ability to build wealth and to be that change in their families, to be that change, socially, to support the things that matter to us as women and as mothers, and just everything that we are tends to push progress forward a little faster. And the more money that we have in our hands, the more that message can go further and faster. So those were the things that were pressed on my heart. And I tend to work with small business owners because kind of that same thing. And I, at my old firm, I was not encouraged to do the things really that were important to me. I was encouraged to be the same, to serve the same demographic, to have meetings in the same way, to get clients. I don't golf. I am a small person, and I get drunk under the table. And, I mean, as far as I can't keep up with the guys. Not that I try to, but it's just I couldn't network in the same way. And that, and along with some of the other glass ceiling and feminist issues that we can have when we're in a male dominated industry, were really the pushes that I need. That I have a different message. I am not being valued where I'm at, and I really have to go. I really have to find a place where I feel safe delivering my message, and really working with the clients that I know that I can serve the best and can make the most impact with. So that was 2019 and 2020 is kind of when all of that change was really like roiling up in me. And it took from May of 2020 is when I decided that I had to make a big change. I had to go somewhere else. And then I interviewed at 3 other firms. And really, I put my heart into those interviews. I really, thought, oh, maybe this is the right place. And then it didn't work out. And oh, maybe this is the right place, and really poured my heart into that interview. Also, nope, that was not the right fit. And through that process, that's what really, I had that inkling of, I kind of want to be on my own, but that feels scary. So, but this firm looks really great. So, I can sort of be on my own over here. Nope, that's not how it works. So I would have been jumping from the box I was in to a different box, but still a box. It's kind of the way I saw it. So it took me 6 months until December, like late November, early December 2020, to decide, nope, this is it. I got to go and be on my own. And I launched my firm X Squared in January, at the end of January. So it's almost been 4 months at this point, and every day and every week that goes by, it's like the mental load and my ability to really work on myself and my own mindset has it's just shifted everything completely. I'm healthier. I feel better. My mental health is better. Just all of it. My relationships with my friends and my kids and my husband, all of that is changing in such good ways because I'm not under so much stress. So, and I'm not doing something that is, where I feel like I'm constantly being undervalued. That my value as an advisor, as a highly intelligent person, is not being valued because of, whatever it is. I'm an associate, or I'm a woman, or I'm younger. All of those factors that shouldn't really matter. So now I feel like I can really push 100% into my potential. So I really want to just encourage anyone who's having those thoughts, let them play out. You do the research you need to do to feel comfortable with this decision that you're making, but let that intuition lead you. That if you keep coming back to that same idea and it keeps just getting stronger and stronger, there's a reason for that. There's a reason we have, those polls and those visions and those dreams. One of the things that I was told recently that really helped me, was I have really big goals. I have really big dreams of impacting a lot of women and really making change. And I was told you wouldn't have those thoughts wouldn't be there if you weren't capable of accomplishing them. So really, write them down, do whatever it is, that helps you keep those visions in front of you, and really lean into it. So there's the inspirational part, I guess, and just, really, really encouraging every woman who says, I think I can do this. Yes, do it, figure it out, keep making those steps towards that vision that you have. And then if we want to back into now the financial part of that, there are some very real steps that you want to take in order to make sure that that dream you have, that you start off on the best possible footing. It's never going to be perfect. So, take that. Always remember that it's not going to be exactly what you want ever. It's always going to be a work in progress, but you can do some good preparation where you're at right now for most people. Um, One caveat with that is, depending on your work situation, there are times where, you might have to, light everything on fire and leave. Like, that's not to say that that couldn't be the case. If you are being bullied, abused at your workplace in any way, shape, or form, like that, yes, getting out fast is important. If you're in a place where you can still manage where you're at, still keep getting paid, keep doing your work, while you make these other preparations, I would recommend that. But again, really make sure that your mental health and your emotional health are okay, to be able to do that. So I know for me, I did get to that point where I was like, I can't be here for another 6 months. If I'm here in a year from now, I don't know what my mental health is going to be like, but I could look out 3 months. Okay, I can do these things for 3 months. I could look out about 5 months, and I can do these things for this long. So making that plan with, understanding where you're at and taking care of yourself as best as you can while you're doing the preparations, that you need to do to launch your business, will give you the smoother transition if you can afford that. Again, mentally, emotionally, financially, all of those things. So when I was going to, when I was in my last firm, I was a W-2 employee. I was paid, on a salary and, new asset bonus type situation. So kind of salary and commission. Full W-2, I had, a profit sharing and 401k and all of that stuff. Going to my new firm, I'm a full 1099 employee. I have zero benefits, and I am now responsible for all of my self-employment taxes, all of my own retirement planning, all of that kind of thing. So luckily I have a leg up there because I'm a wealth advisor. So I have a good idea of what I need to do for my own retirement planning, but I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a CPA. So I had to find those other professionals. I had to build my own team of people that I could lean on so that I know that I'm, taking the right steps for me. I don't know, what all industries that we're looking at. So Rosalind, if there are any questions, from like specific industries, I can address what I know. But if you are in a situation where there's some kind of non-compete or, non-solicit, or, sometimes attorneys don't have any of that, but there's still like, there's that, don't steal clients. Anyone that's a client facing type, of job, there can be issues. In financial services in particular, it can be very hairy. There's just a lot that can get in your way as far as non-competes and non-solicits when you launch. So I hired an attorney who was experienced in that. Literally that he is, um, especially, works with advisor transitions for financial advisors who are leaving and starting their own firm. So if there is any way, I'm connected actually to a lot of attorneys as well. So if anyone has, hey, I'm in this industry, do you know anyone that helps with transitions there? I'm more than happy to reach into my network and see if there is someone who deals specifically, with, whatever different people are working on. So finding an attorney if you need one. Sometimes you'll kind of know. I kind of knew that with the group that I was in, that was going to be important to protect myself so that I could, maintain my licensing and have a clean record. Um, and he was invaluable. My attorney was absolutely invaluable. Finding a CPA, someone who, coached me through helping, like, hey, this is new to me. What do I need to do, with getting an LLC, getting, tax preparations, that kind of thing. Who's going to help me with all that kind of stuff? Again, I've coached other businesses, through the wealth planning stage and how to, manage taxes and savings at the same time. But, this is new for me as a brand new business owner. So really build your team, figure out who you need. If you're not a wealth advisor, that might be someone else on your team that could help you figure out how do I, I have like a pretty good base. Maybe after 3 or 6 months, you are already starting to see the fruits of your labor coming in, and things are going really well. Maybe you're launching and you have clients already that are just waiting for you. So being able to have, some professionals in your corner that will help you, how do I, determine what's my profit? How do I determine what I should take as owner's comp? How do I determine what the right kind of retirement plan is? And what are the, what are the options? And, how do I balance it all? Those are things that you don't have to figure out on your own. There are other people that can help you with that so that you can continue to really lean into the thing that you love, and that you're, the reason you started your business. You didn't start your business so that you could figure out how to do self-employment taxes. So, it's a balancing act. It depends on what your revenue is versus your expenses, all those kinds of things. But there are resources available, to really help you step by step. You're not on your own. I'm sure Rosalind has lots of resources as well for people, who can we connect you with? Who can we help you find that's going to help you do the thing that you want to do?
Now,
So
how early into your planning? So if somebody's like, I want to quit my job in 6 months or in a year, 2 years, tomorrow, when should they say, goodness, I need to put this team together to review whether it be non-competes? And then does that even matter if they're going to a totally different industry? So maybe they're taking their side hustle to full time. Do some of those things matter more or less in that case?
yeah. So if it's more a case of, a side hustle, maybe you're a coach on the side and you do something that's totally different for your day job, and you're really just letting go of the day job and just going full time from, this business that you've been starting. That would be, not necessarily something that you need to worry about an attorney, maybe, but definitely looking at a CPA and maybe a financial advisor that can give you, the right, okay, now you're going into this fully 1099 space. How can we, manage that? Especially, Rosalind, like you said, if it's a business that has income already, that can, support you more easily and give you more of that safety net, maybe. And yeah, it'll depend case by case what your team looks like. For some people, I also hired a business coach that kind of did the exact same thing that I want to do several years ago, and built her business and built it in a niche that she felt really passionate about. And so for me, that's helped me a lot as well. So, they're just, it depends who you are and what you need and what you're already good at. But, kind of, it's like plugging the holes of what you don't know is really what's important. So if you were to say, we'll go with 6 months. So we're going to say we're not like throwing the bomb and exploding the bridge behind us. We'll say you have a 6-month lead time and your goal is, I want to be fully self-employed in 6 months. With that in mind, the next few steps that you want to take are to really look at your budget. So if you will use the side hustle again. So if you've got a side hustle that's making, maybe you're doing $25,000 a year on this side hustle, but you make, 80 to 100 at your full-time job. Okay, so you're going to have to either, save up a whole bunch. It depends. What's your budget? Is your budget based on those two together? Is your budget, using that, full $110,000 a year? Or, are you able to pare down those expenses so that you could have a cash reserve over here from your full-time job that you were able to put away, and then, live off of your savings and your side hustle money as it grows? Or, is that going to be an issue? Are you going to have too many, overhead expenses that's going to be a little more tough? So in that case, depends on how flexible your current job is. If it's someone that's supportive, maybe you could go part-time. That's not going to be the case with everyone, but it's hard to say, right now there's so many people working from home, that could be an intermediate step. But for a lot of people, we really can cut back or save or, make a concerted effort for a short amount of time that will allow you the freedom that you need for that, maybe first 6 to 12 months, especially as you're really ramping up your own business. If you have a spouse that has a job, obviously that would be another consideration. Are you able to live off of that main income? Only how long can you do that? How much can you cut back right now and save for the next 6 months to pad that retirement or that cash reserve savings? So that can be done. There are, you can do it by yourself with your own budgeting. There are also, depending on the industry you're in, there are also financial coaches that will help you walk through that, in particular, that actual, how do I make this transition and be successful with it? And then there are also, the considerations of, your lifestyle and what overhead you have. Are you able to, how important and how much time is it going to take to bring up your own business income? Is there a vehicle that can be downsized? All of these questions. Sometimes there's a bigger solution that can really free up a good chunk of money on a monthly basis. Can you refinance if you own your home? Can you refinance your home and get a lower payment? There are lots of options available to you. If you really have to leave quickly, so we don't have that 6 months or 8 months or a year, whatever that planning period is. If you have to leave really quickly, there, are also options that could come with some tax penalties. But if you have a retirement account, again, I'm a wealth advisor. I don't recommend this super heavily, but if there is, an opportunity that you could, take a small disbursement from a retirement account, you're going to pay a penalty for that. But if that's what you need in order to launch your business and to push yourself forward into the place where you need to go in order to have the life that you want to live, it makes it easier to then replace that income and have, everything that you want when you're doing something that you are passionate about and that you love. So those are options as well, if absolutely necessary. I did make a few notes over here. So yeah, saving up that extra cash, knowing what your options might be for if there's startup funding, if there are grants and loans, if you're a woman of color, a lot of times there are, special loan funds that you might be able to tap into. Women entrepreneurs in general, we have some funding options. Again, reaching out to people and just seeing who they know, if they have any angel investors, in their networks that give even sometimes $5,000 or $10,000 is truly what you need just to get that seed money. And sometimes, that's available out there from other women who are also trying to bring up other women business owners. So don't rule that out as a possibility. And, once you do launch, so after you've done your budgeting and okay, I need this amount per month, maybe it's $3,000, maybe it's $4,000 per month, that like basic, we have to have this in order to pay our bills, in order to eat, in order to, keep all of everything running, keep clothes on the kids that are growing, all of that. Once you have that base number that you really need, you can then start looking at your other pieces. If you have time, the other things that I really looked at, I worked on my website. I looked around and for my domain name, and I bought 2 domain names pretty early. I knew what I wanted my name to be. So I went and grabbed those. I grabbed the Twitter handle. I grabbed the Instagram handle, started allowing myself to dream. So those were some of the kind of exciting pieces that helped me prepare too, to get kind of excited for it. So putting my website together, dreaming about how I wanted it to look, who I wanted to serve. Again, if you already have a business that's, you're just switching over to, you might have some of those things already, but really leaning into and expanding that, like how much more can I make this me? How much more of myself can I really put into, your website, your social media presence? Um, what are the marketing channels that make sense to you? What are you good at? What do you like to do? And letting yourself dream up those ideas, writing them down, trying them out. I spent a lot of my free time was spent on website design and, working on all that stuff. I found a really good template. So I didn't have to build a website from the ground up. I just, made it personalized to me and said all the things I wanted to say. Um, and, I was ready to launch. When I launched my firm, it was January 28th is when I resigned. My firm launched on January 29th, and I was able to just turn my stuff on, and there's my website. It's awesome. It's there. I've got my LinkedIn. I had that changed over. So those were some of the exciting things that kind of helped amp that up as well emotionally.
Now, would you recommend people, especially if they haven't quite left their job yet, starting some of those like social media prompts and posts and so forth? Or is it just more so holding them to be ready for the day that they actually do that, resign and launch?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, if you are in a place where you are not like free to be doing something else, yeah, don't start posting stuff on online. My website was in like pre-publishing stage for that whole time. So it was not live. No one could accidentally stumble on it and be like, what are you doing? But yeah, like I didn't post on Instagram. I didn't post on any Twitter handles, but I made sure that I had them so that, they didn't go away in the several months it took me to launch. But yeah, so again, if it's a full switch, you're going to a different company entirely. You're launching out from something, and the way I did, and it's a competitive situation. Yeah, keep all of that like way under your hat as much as you can. But if you've got a second business, then that's not a problem, and you can lean into that a little bit more openly. Um, Obviously. So the last little piece that I wanted to go over as far as actual, savings and profit. I mentioned it a little bit previously as well, but one of the things I see very often in working with small business owners is that, especially in the first year, 2 years, it can happen that just your expenses just eat everything up, right? So that can happen. It's not to say that that's not a normal thing, but that can start to lead into, year 3, year 4, year 5. All of a sudden you're like, wow, I just feel like this business is just eating money, and I'm not ever feeling like I'm getting ahead. I'm just, you know, I felt like I'm, being taken advantage of here at this big company. And now, I made my own company, and I'm not necessarily feeling better. So there's this tendency for new business owners to put everything back in and not keep enough for themselves, as far as owner's compensation, or not to take a profit from their business. And either way, it turns into just another stress wheel. So the other thing that I really coach my small business owners on is, let's look at the profitability of your business. How do we, manage to start profit? There's actually, I don't do it exactly, but I've taken a lot of ideas from a book called Profit First. Like the author escapes me at the moment. It's on, I could look it up. But Profit First is the book, and it's a strategy of actually, when you get your income, you do take profits. You have percentages set out for how much is going to be used for operating expenses, how much is going to be owner's comp, how much is going to be profit, how much you need to save for taxes. So instead of just dumping it all in one bucket and then just spending it and, oh, look, it's all gone. Instead, we separate those buckets out. It's kind of like, the old envelope system where, this is your grocery money, this is your bill money, but we're taking that and we're using actual bank accounts. So you take your profits off the table, you take your owner's comp, and you make sure that your operating expenses aren't eating everything.
Now, how long should one wait before taking money? So in the very beginning, you're making a lot of investments, you're paying everybody, you're spending way more than you're probably making. How long is too long to wait to take money, or how quick maybe is too quick to start taking an income?
It's going to depend on the industry that you're in, and the way that your business is set up. But for the most part, especially if you're starting by yourself, so if your expenses, if you can keep your expenses as low as possible right up front, there are some things you can't skimp on, and that's completely fine. But for the most part, if you say your business is bringing in $2,000 or $3,000 a month, if we can start even just marginally, let's call it take 1% of that as profit and put it in the profit account. And then your operating expenses are what they are for right now, right? But starting at least this habit of splitting the income so that you see it, and you have that goal that, okay, we're gonna, right now our percentages are all off kilter, where maybe operating expenses are 99% of what you're doing, and you're using some extra money. So that's normal. Let's still shave off 1% and call that profit. Maybe shave off 1% and call that owner's comp, and then use the rest for operating expenses. But as your income grows, you've got those separations in place, and we can start to build towards 20% profit and 30% owner's comp, or whatever the appropriate percentage is, and 50%, well, it would normally be 15% for taxes, and then 35% for operating expenses. But you want to build the habit, is what that's doing. And that's teaching you to make a profitable business while still allowing enough, for reinvestment in the business. You do have to reinvest in the business, especially when, you're growing and a young company, but that doesn't mean you completely ignore the fact that you need to enjoy your life. You need to, celebrate the fact that you're doing something that you love. And one of the ways that we do that is by actually paying ourselves for the business that we're running. So I do absolutely coach my business owners in that way, to take their compensation. And then the other piece of that, the other part that's really important that I talk about a lot, is that I see a lot of business owners who spend money, who's actually put more out in expenses just to get their income down, so they don't have to pay as much in taxes. And the problem that we run into there is that literally, I have a client who's a realtor, and he's not a CPA. He's just a person who does her taxes, would say, well, if you have this much more in expenses, you can reduce this. So just go buy paper for the office, or, just things that are not necessary, or more trash cans, or, it's stuff that you didn't have to spend money on just to, add deductions, versus, hey, you know what, if you leave that income, we can then we can do retirement savings, and that will also lower your taxes. But you have to show an income in order to be able to put money away for your own self and for your own retirement. So really balancing out those ideals, that taxes, you're going to pay taxes. That's going to happen. We have to plan for it. Yes, you will have expenses that are just naturally there because you're a business owner, but you don't have to create more expenses and spend more money just to reduce your taxes. That's not a sustainable or wise way, to use your business profits. So yeah, there are several different kinds of retirement accounts that you have available to you when you're a small business owner. And that would be definitely something to go, you can do some research online. Even my own website, I have, lots of resources where I want women to be able to find information and feel like they can, read something and trust it, that no one's trying to sell you anything. This is literally here for you to try to learn, and have something, explained in a way that makes sense. So there are those resources out there that can kind of help guide you. But, as soon as you feel like I want to start putting something away and I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing, looking for a professional that can really help, help you make those good choices. Again, I go back to my own example of I'm not an attorney, and it saved me lots of heartache and who knows what else to pay that professional to help me the way he could help me, the way that I couldn't help myself. So yeah, putting those pieces in place is really going to help you make the decisions that help tax wise and retirement wise and even right now, all of those pieces. So the last thing I will say before opening up for questions and whatever, anything else anyone wants to contribute is just to keep, again, like push on that dream big, like let your dreams be absolutely everything you want. Make it as beautiful as you can make it, hold it in your mind, hold it in your heart. I have friends that write, like literally write down their goals every day before bed. And that friend is actually now like doing his dream job, and it's amazing. And he's such a positive person, and it's amazing to see how that has manifested for him from, really just writing it. He wanted to write it every day. Other people maybe have a meditation practice where you visualize the things that you love and do that every day, or have a vision board and put all the pictures of the things that you really want to do in your life. Do something that allows you to imagine and feel how good it's going to feel to be in that place where you are your own boss and you are making the decisions for your life, and enjoy it. It's absolutely worth it. I would highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Being my own boss.
Now, one question too is, what are some of the mistakes that you've made along the way? So things that people are like, okay, goodness, I don't want to make that mistake too. Can you share maybe some of the hurdles or mistakes that you've made as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, so far in, being my own firm, I've been okay through this little section. The place where I made the biggest mistakes was, in my previous firm, in my own overriding my own intention or my own intuition over and over and over again. It was not listening to myself when I knew something was not right. Um, so I could really go all the way back to about 2016, I think. And that was when I was like, I feel like I should just, I feel like I need a new challenge. I need to go somewhere else. And instead I took another position at the same company, and kind of did the same thing for another several years. And, it was growth. I was going in the right direction, but I didn't listen to that voice, even 5 years ago, that was telling me like, hey, something else needs to happen. The other thing that I really had happen, while I was at my other firm, was trying to change a culture that wasn't having it. So kind of beating my head against a wall in that way, thinking that, okay, this is how things are, but I can make them better. Like, that's what we do, right? Like we can be the change. Yes. Yeah. I do believe that we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. Sometimes that's not in the place where you're at, and you can make changes elsewhere. So yeah, kind of over and over, it was this overriding of what I knew was right for me, and plowing through, being an achieving type of personality. I'm very type A, very organized, very like, if I figure it out, if I know the steps that I have to do and check off my boxes, it's going to be fine, right? I just have to check off all my boxes. And that's not always the case, and that's not always going to get you where you want to go. And yeah, I think I do have a spouse who also works, so we've been able to manage our budget in that way, that he has his job, and my practice has come up pretty quickly with the clients that have come with me, so it's not financially, we've been okay. But yeah, again, it was a lot of preparation to make sure I probably worried about it too much. But again, type A list maker, I had lists everywhere for a while.
Now, if someone says, how do you know when to quit? So maybe they have gone out, they've tried it, maybe they're spending way more than they're making. What time period do you give yourself to say, maybe this wasn't a good idea, or maybe I need to change something or go back to your 9 to 5? How do you gauge that in terms of, I know, you're not going to be successful in month one, but if you're 18 months, 2 years out, how do you know when to say, okay, this isn't working before you get too deep over your head?
Yeah. So there, that's such a subjective question because it so depends on the resources that are available to you and the and when I say that, I'm thinking of I know other people who have like saved enough to their, a good amount to their 401k, for example, and used literally all of it. Like just kept taking withdrawals until it was gone. And then at that point, they were like, holy crap, I got to do something, or this isn't gonna, like, I don't have anything left. And then that was the spark that they needed to like go out and figure it out. Right. So it's, I think it's more of a mindset issue that we can get into this worrying state, and where we're constantly like work harder, grind harder, and we get into this stressed state where I'm in a sales, technically it's a sales role. I have to get new clients into my world, but that energy of stress and like, oh, I really like, I have to make this sale, I have to get this client, I have to, it starts to like turn it around and push people away. And we can get really hard on ourselves and down on ourselves about that. So I know that's not necessarily like a cut and dry answer, but it is going to depend on, what's right for you. Like what's the kick in the pants that's going to be the right thing. Because the opposite is what I see as well. A lot of times someone who has an idea and they're passionate about it and they have a side business and they want to make it more. And then there's that safety piece of, having that 9 to 5 and like, oh, I'm just not ready yet. And I want to say it's an evolution of where you're at and when you're finally ready. But you know, having the confidence piece to that to push in and go all in, is really important. Now, I would say if you've gotten through, if you've gone through literally all your resources, like all your credit cards are tapped out, you can't get a loan, like borrowing from family, you can't get on Shark Tank, anything like that, right? Then there is, like, okay, what piece of what I'm good at, maybe this particular thing that I'm doing, it needs a big shift. So look back inside yourself. What is it about? Why did you want to go into business? And what was the thing that you felt you're very good at, that, you're building it around? And is there a shift that you can make that you can be profitable right now? You can go out and use that same spark that you have of what you love and, bring in the money that you need. If it is a part-time job, if it is another full-time job that, again, if you're using those talents that you have that are unique to you, that can still be the right next stepping stone. That if it didn't work for this year and you do something else, you can still, it's not like you're never going to be able to try again. So yeah, very, very, very personal, very subjective. But I think the confidence piece is absolutely key. That, if you're losing confidence in yourself, you've got to find a way to bring it back. And then if you can try to launch again in another 2 or 3 or 5 years, that's okay. Our lives are long. We have lots of time.
Now, someone asked, this is more on the technical side in terms of like client contracts and collecting money, those kind of things. Are there things to put in place in terms of, regardless of what you're doing, especially if you're doing something on the service side, where to find those contracts? Is that like a, free service, one of those like cheap online services? And then we've talked a number of times about getting away from things like Cash App and so forth, but are there ways or things that they should be putting in place to start to collect funds as well as they're getting ready to build this business?
So that's, I'll be upfront that that's not my area of expertise necessarily, but there are a lot of website templates that will have those as add-ons. So you can, if it's a cart system, for example, like, okay, you put it in the cart and then you pay, there are websites that are fully templated. So that for me, like, I am not a software developer. That is not in my realm of anything. So I found a company that does financial advisor website templates that are beautiful and functional and have all the things that I need. There are, I know I looked at that. I can't remember the name of the website, but there are also, you know, websites for coaches where you do that take payment processing, that are backed by, Square or by, sometimes Shopify might be what's backing at this point, depending on what your offer is. If it's goods, then, yeah, something where you have a cart and you just, how many items do you need, all that kind of thing. There are templates for that. If it's a coaching service or a monthly payment service, I've seen law firm websites where they have like a make a payment button, and it's like built in. So that's my advice coming from someone who's not technical, and I don't have someone, well, my husband is a software developer, but he's not a web designer and he's not a website, that's not his thing. So finding a template, and there are lots of companies that are doing these templates now, and really pretty ones, and you can add in your own pictures and all your own stuff. It doesn't have to be, built from the ground up. Other payment processing, I'm sure, PayPal and credit card and things like that, are all available. But yeah, really keeping it from a business side, keeping it in one place so that it does filter first to one account is pretty important for the income tracking, making sure you're paying your taxes right, all of that. So yeah, making sure that it's all in one nice, bundle as much as possible, and then putting it into starting in one single account so that you know what your income is an important piece to that.
Well, great. Looks like we have one more question. Someone said, if you're on the fence, how do they figure out when to get off the fence? So, Monday morning starts and they're like, I could probably do this on my own, but there's so many Mondays have gone by and they're probably saying the same thing. How do they know when it's time?
Oh yeah, that's another heart. Ask your heart. Ask, how much can you do? How are you feeling? How are you feeling in the rest of your life? How is your mental health? How are your relationships? Are other pieces of you suffering because of, the situation you're in work-wise? Have you said what you need to say? Have you advocated for yourself at your job? If there's something that can change at your job, if it's just a matter of, I feel like, I'm not getting along with this particular supervisor, or I feel like I'm being underpaid, and oh wait, I know what this person is making. I'm grossly underpaid. Like if these things are coming up, it might help to first advocate for yourself, and see where that goes. And if that ends poorly, you kind of have your answer, right? So that was the case for me, is that, I was not silent. I brought up my concerns over and over and over. And when it was clear that my concerns were not going to be resolved in a way that I was okay with, that's when it was like, all right, that was my decision. I was on the fence for a long time as well. But there, the few dominoes that fell around March, April, May of 2020 was, okay, that's it. I can't do this anymore. And I know I've tried. So depending on the situation, if it's a, not a good fit at your current workplace, have you advocated for yourself to the fullest degree that you feel is possible? And if it's not being resolved in your favor in a way that you can feel good about going forward, and still putting in good work and good effort, and being passionate about what you're doing, then for me that would tell me that that's the answer. But also, yeah, check those other factors: your mental health, your emotional health, your relationships, and how you're feeling. It's really, really important.
I think that's a good segue because at the end of the day, so many people are saying, oh, goodness, can I do this on my own? Or maybe I'm doing all the work anyway. I may as well be doing it myself. Or it's just taking too much of your life and you're saying, goodness gracious, I'd rather do less or what have you. And so I'm sure there's a number of people that are on the fence and saying, maybe I should, maybe I could, or maybe their side hustle is doing just enough. And if they put their all behind it, they could really get to a point where the side hustle could be their main hustle and they wouldn't have some of the stress of their day job as well. Any closing remarks as people are really kind of planning and plotting and thinking? I know in the next few months, we're going to go through another round of crazy change in terms of returning to the office or what's going to happen with that kind of work-life balance that we've sort of gotten adjusted to for the last year and a half or so. And so as we really start to plan and think a little bit further out for that, how should people either plan or be making those decisions to feel like what's in the best interest of them long term?
Yeah, and that's going to go, straight back to what do you need? What is best for you and your family? We've had a huge, it's been all over the news, all over LinkedIn. If you're paying attention to that, it's, there's been an exodus of women from the workforce. And it's, our contributions are not just valuable, they're vital. They're vital to the overall conversation. So if there's a change that needs to be made, if your job is going back to the office and it's just not going to work, that's a valid consideration. And like what is going to make it possible for you to continue to contribute in the way that makes sense for you, and be there with your family, and really keeping in mind that the contribution you make financially is one thing, but there's more to it, that being out there in the world, and being, another ambassador for, our gender, and it's, the importance of equality across the board is absolutely important. We can't give up all of the gains that we've come through. It's laid bare, the pandemic has laid bare the fact that our society was not built for women to be in the workforce the same way it was built for men to be in the workforce. And we have to start making those changes, in my opinion, so that we have equality across the board, and equality of thought, and equality of caring about issues in different ways. So it's very much a heart issue, and and then a list. I mean, if you're not a list maker, I don't know. I write everything down. I make lots of lists. If you have pros and cons, or whatever it is, journaling, again, vision boards. What is it that helps you focus on where you want to go and the impact you want to make, and deciding that way.
I love it. I think we have so much more control, and especially the more we are in terms of our financial security, we can take all of that hard work that we're doing for someone else and then do it for ourselves, and maybe be that much more efficient,
Yep.
maybe have the type of balance that we want, and really show clients the type of care that we expect, and maybe that we're not able to do under the control of someone else. So this is really a great opportunity. I've provided Hannah's information into the group itself. So if you have any questions about going at it yourself, or if you're looking for an advisor who's actually going to listen to you, who's going to cater to your needs, who's going to speak to you in a respectful manner, we've all experienced the other. So if you're looking for any of that, I want you to make sure that you reach out to Hannah, have a conversation or two with her, really to fill it out and see if it makes sense. And maybe it's just so you can get a sense of kind of peace about some of the decisions that you're looking to make as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining us, Hannah. Really, thank you for dropping those tidbits, because there's so many things that we don't think about. You might be the greatest widget maker and you decide I'm going to go out and make widgets, but there's so much more to being your own boss. So we want to be prepared for that as well. So thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing your story. And then be sure to join us again next Monday for another great Money Monday. Until next time, have a good evening.